Bernie Schiemer from Vincere. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
G'day, mate. How you doing? I'm well. I'm very well, thank you. And how are you?
I'm very
How's
well.
Melbourne?
Yeah, well, yes, in Melbourne. Yeah, lockdown 2.0. We're well and truly over the halfway mark now. So fingers crossed, the numbers continue to go down, and we'll be running around the streets like you are in sunny Singapore.
Yeah. How long have you got? Apparently, what is it? 6 weeks or another 3 weeks?
Well, we've got about 2.5 weeks left, I think.
Oh God. Okay. Right.
So
It's unfathomable. I just don't know how you guys do it. But crikey, it's at least it's cold outside. That's one thing.
it's taking its toll. But let's speak of happier things. Hey Bernie, thank you so much for being involved in Recruitment Journeys, the podcast series.
Thanks for having me on, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, much appreciated. The more astute listeners, it probably won't be lost on them the fact that Vincere very kindly sponsor this podcast. So it was only a matter of time before we sat down and had a good old natter. But I've already explained earlier in the podcast who you are, Bernie. But in your own words, would you mind introducing yourself to the listeners and the viewers?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll be fast. I'm a Mudgee boy, Mudgee, New South Wales. Grew up there. Moved to the UK when I was about 21. I came back and then moved back again in 25 and got into recruitment. I basically was in recruitment for about 15 years, 16 years. I can't quite remember really, to be honest, Pete. I built a business and sold it to Hayes in 2007, did an earn out for 3 years, and then got into tech in 2012. And that's how Vincere came about.
And that's the story. That's the story. That's the journey. That's what we're going to uncover today. So we're going to go into more detail in all of the above. So look, I'll very quickly explain the concept of the podcast to anybody who hasn't heard before. It's called Recruitment Journeys, where we talk to selected identities from the recruitment industry about, as it says on the tin, their recruitment journey. When I started the podcast, I used to only talk to recruiters who were still in a recruitment gig in some way, shape or form. But I'm trying to kind of broaden the horizons of the podcast now and speak to people who have potentially been successful recruiters, but moved on to new and different things. I've done a couple of those of late, and you definitely fall into that category, Bernie. So the idea is to educate, inspire, motivate somebody who might look at your story, listen to your journey and be inspired by it. So you need to be as inspirational as you possibly can today, Bernie, if that's not too much to ask. But the title of this podcast is The Recruiter Who Started a Tech Company, which is, there won't be many of you out there, Bernie. You might be a bit of a unicorn in that regard.
I wouldn't say that. I think there's a lot of people that have gone from. And if you look at JobAdder and you look at the team there, they came from recruitment. I think you've got there's quite a few of us actually, but not many of us probably have exited a business, made the money I did and then poured it all back into tech. I mean, that's probably unique.
Yeah, you did it in a very different fashion. So let's go back in time, Bernie. You are, as we've already identified, an ex-recruiter, a recruiter by trade, very successful recruiter. But going back in time, how and why, and indeed where, did you get into recruitment, the wonderful world of recruitment?
Well, it's interesting, Pete, because I actually did the opposite for what you and many other recruitment owners and certainly customers of ours did, in the fact that I actually went to the UK and got into recruitment there. So I'm an Aussie going to the UK and started there. So I left Mudgee, went to a place called Tunbridge Wells, and I was actually working in oil and gas. I think that was 1995. I was working there, and I think the average price of oil was around $15 a barrel. So trying to have to call around to commercial and domestic customers to sell them oil. It was an interesting gig for a year and a bit. But it was a rec to rec that phoned me, and she worked with me at Shell. I was working for Shell, and she worked with me there. And she basically phoned me and said, "Hey, would you like to try this gig in recruitment? They're paying you 13,000 quid, which is about $18,000 Aussie, and 3% commission." And I said, "What do I have to do?" And they said, "Well, just basically phone around companies, pull a job from them and phone around people and, put them into that job for more money they're on now. And I was, oh, crikey, let's do it. Absolutely. And I remember the first day walking into that office, and it's funny, Pete, because I walked in there because I thought, you're going to pay me to get people a job for more money than they're on now. This is ridiculous. That should just be a salaried role. And I'll give me commission 3% at the time. And I walked into the office in the first day, and I don't know why, but I looked around the office and thought, why are you guys not on the phone? Come on, there's 3% commissions to be paid here. I didn't realize that I was on the lowest salary and the lowest commissions when I walked in. But yeah, that's how I thought when I first walked in that office.
So even then, even on your first day, your instinct just told you that to be successful in this job, you should be on the old dog and bone.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I just come from living on the phone selling oil to people who were very irate about the fact that Shell was charging more than the other companies were. We had to sell it on a value sell. We use certain different additives to the oil that look after your boilers, etc. All complete BS, of course. But then coming in and having something that was far more interesting, in my opinion. I just thought, wow, this is a money factory. And I can have some of that in my back pocket. So that's what I thought when I first walked in, and I still think it's if you're clever, it's a hidden gem of a career.
So in the early days, were you any good, Bernie? Were you a good recruiter? Were you talented?
No, to be honest, no. Pete, I don't think I've got the gift of the gab like other people do. I think you Brits are very, very good at it. So I just had to outwork everyone. So I would stay late and get in early, and I'd make the extra calls that I have to make to make up for the fact that I probably didn't have the sales skills that the other guys had.
You must have been quite a rarity back in those days, an Australian doing recruitment in the UK.
Yeah, there was a few of us actually. It's funny enough. There's a mate of mine that runs Robert Walters. He actually ran it in Japan the same time I was there, and now he runs it for Kev Gibson runs it for South America. He was another one. He went over there just a year or so before me. Was working in London and got a job in recruitment. There are very few of us. Yeah, very few though. But it was interesting.
So that was your baptism of fire into recruitment, and then you took a leap of faith. Calculated gamble, if you will, and you started your own recruitment business, James Harvard. Now, you only had, if my notes are correct, about 5 years recruitment experience before you started James Harvard, and you started James Harvard in a different country. So you kind of pile all that on top of each other, and it just sounds like a recipe for disaster. But for you, it was a calculated gamble. How did you know in your bones that it was going to pay off? Because it did pay off, and we'll come to that in a moment. But how did you know it was going to pay off?
To be honest, I didn't know it would pay off in the way it did, and I don't think anyone really does. But I took a calculated gamble because I started with two other great billers,
right?
And so we could share the risk, and also we could had the security there because we all put some money into it, and we had a stonking month. Our first month was I think we set up the business in March 2000, and we started working together in June because we had a notice periods, etc. And we built £100,000 in our first month, and it was just stonking success. And we're talking 20 years ago.
Sorry, Bernie, this was in IT. This was technology.
Yeah, we did fintech, mate. So basically, let me just quickly explain. So we did fintech. So we didn't call it fintech. We called it financial technology. We weren't clever enough to come up with that catchphrase at the time. So there was three of us, and we focused on different areas. So we just basically sold tech people into investment banks, and our whole concept was to become a global leader. Right, of that, and that we were going to be world domination fintech across the world. We set up in London, we set up in Tokyo, and the whole idea of this was to go to New York, finally we'd have those three. It was a build to sell from day one, Pete. So we weren't going to retire. We were going to be in and out in in 5 to 6 years, and then go on and do whatever we wanted to do thereafter. However, we did London. We did September 2001. We opened up Tokyo, and of course 11 days later, with the 9/11 results, that put the kibosh on heading to New York. So we kind of had to take a step back, and we had to regroup. The team, which is Andy, was Mark had left by that time, and Andy was in London, and I was in Tokyo. We decided that we'd try and keep the business going, and eventually I think Andy wanted out. It was 2003, and we brought in a guy called Paul Beek, and Paul came in, took over the UK side of the business. I ran the Tokyo business, and that's how we worked together for the next 4 years, really, until we had the acquisition from Hayes.
Okay, so at its peak, how big was James Harvard? How many recruiters did you have in the business?
Well, in total headcount, it was just under 300.
Wow.
We had about 115 in Tokyo and about 180 in London. So yeah, it was quite sizable business in the end. And we had, I had in Japan, what I did in Japan was diversify, right? I couldn't just do fintech because the market just wasn't big enough. So, and also when we had a conversation, when Andy was leaving and Paul came into the business, we said, right, we've got to make this look like, we looked at who would potentially acquire us. And I looked around and thought, okay, it's going to be one of the big guys that's not here already. There was going to be a Randstad. It was going to be a Deco. They were there, but not in the specialist recruitment sector. It was going to be a Hayes. And so I built my business out in Japan to look like that, to basically to replicate what their business would do. So we basically went from fintech. We put in accountancy and finance. We put in, we did technology into vendors. We did HR. We did sales and marketing, right? And then we put a contract arm on and an RPO business. So, and that actually worked out really well, because I think it was Mark Brunning that came in from Hayes to look at our business the first time. And he walked out on the sales floor and he said, "This looks just like a Hayes office." And I said under my breath, "No shit, Sherlock," And that's what we did, So, and Paul did something different in the UK, because in the UK, it was the specialisms that they want, that a large specialist firm would want. And so we had the fintech piece. We kept the fintech piece in the UK. That was a real strength of ours, of course, from the early days. And he brought in a pharma element, which is the healthcare or pharma segment, life sciences we call it. So he did just those two specialisms in the UK, and I did a much broader based business in Japan. And we kind of run those autonomously. I owned the Japan business, he owned the UK business, but we went under the same name and same branding and everything.
Yeah. So before we get on to the Hayes acquisition, James Harvard was obviously a very successful organization. Doing your best to avoid the usual cliches that we hear about USPs, Bernie, when talking about successful recruitment businesses. Why do you think James Harvard was successful, or so successful?
I think a lot of it came down to the grit and hard work. We've made a lot of mistakes, along the way. I think it was, we did single-mindedly focus on our two businesses. So I think it really helped that Paul would focus on the UK, and I focused on Japan. So, we could really single-mindedly just go at it. There was, he could offer advice on my side. He could take some ideas that I had from our side as well, and implement those into his business as well. So I think it worked really well because we single-mindedly focused on it, and we just grew it really fast. It was crazy. I think the other thing, Pete, was it kept everything in the business. This was not a lifestyle choice. Some people, and I don't mind, I don't judge other people that want to have, take the money out of the business and have a good life. That's, that's your business, is your decision. Ours was a build to sell, right? And it became, well, at least because we're working in finance, it became pretty obvious by 2006 or even 2005 that I think we were heading towards a toppy market, right? And I said to Paul in 2006, I'm not going to take the risk. I think we're going to have some sort of downturn next year or the year after. I think, I'm going to look to sell. and that's what we did. So
Yeah.
and
So that explains the timing.
Correct.
You didn't like what was bubbling away on the horizon, and reflecting on the timing, was it the right time to sell?
Well, it was 7 years. We actually did the deals almost 7 years to the month after we started the business. And that was quite good because, considering we did a management buyout in 2003 and we'd pivoted, it was kind of like 4 years after we kind of almost started again. So it was pretty good. I would say this, that, a lot of people think that they want to sell a business when it's perfect, when they're, when it's right for them. But I feel that the sale of the business is very much dependent upon the market itself, right? So, and I said to Paul, listen, I'm going to sell in 2007, right? If you want to be part of it, great, I'll see. So I spoke to Randstad in Japan, and they were really interested to buy our business. But they didn't want Paul's business because they weren't interested in the UK business. And Paul said, well, let's go out to market. And he went and spoke to Hayes, and Hayes came back and said, well, we don't have anything in Japan, and you know what, the pharma and fintech pieces are missing from Arsenal in the UK. So Dennis Waxman was running Hayes at that time. So he came over, met with us. I put him in a hotel, right? That we had to go downstairs and iron his own shirt. Dennis was notorious for saving money, and so was I. So he really liked that. His CFO, who's still there, didn't. So we got along really well.
You put him in, he was in like a travel lodge or something.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. He'd go down. He loved it. Go down and iron his own shirt and whatnot. So, but I think with Paul bought that business along Hayes, and the deal on the table that they had was just much better. It was much better an opportunity, not just from a cash perspective, but also from a career perspective for the guys working for me. So I've got some guys now that are still working with Hayes, and they're back in the UK or they're in certain parts of the world, and have gone on to do really well with them. So I think, I think it was just a better overall deal, and the timing was great. So Paul Beek had sold his business previously. He'd sold a business in 2000. He was 30, sold his business to Harvey Nash, and he'd sold it. Basically gave away most of the upfront to all his investors, whatever, and took on the earnout. And this is March 2000, right? And he was in tech in Silicon Valley. And what had happened was in April, the market crashed, and his earnout just disappeared.
Wow.
So with this time, my conversation with Paul was, right, let's go early. Let's take something off the table, please, and let's put all the risk on the earnout. Yeah. Right? Because if you do that, if we take it off the table now, we can put all the risk in the earnout. And as it was, the earnout kind of wrangled me because I suffered the most because it was, because it was a broad-based business. It was Japan. The market dropped. We did okay. We didn't get nothing, but we didn't maximize it. Whereas Paul with the pharma, well, that just went ballistic, and he maximized the hell out of it for that team, which I thought was amazing. It was a great story and great to watch. So overall, it was a deal. I think the total value of the deal was about 75 million quid, including earnouts. So it was great to be part of it, and it was a great learning experience.
Tell me, I'm always curious. I've asked this question a couple of times, but how did you feel the morning you woke up, having signed the final documents and the deal was officially 100% done and said? How did you feel the morning you woke up?
Well, we were negotiating all night. So we had to stay, and they were negotiating all day in London because the deal was being inked in London, and so I was on conference calls with the team all night from Japan, right? So it was kind of like, I can't remember with the lawyer. We had our lawyer over there. I think it was like 4 or 5 a.m. I just went home, went to sleep, no champagne. But I think the thing before the whole deal's done is the one thing going through your mind, Pete, is just don't screw this up.
Yeah.
Hayes, they talk to about 100 companies a year. They're lucky if they make one acquisition a year, right? They are very, very fussy, and they did an 8-month DD on us in Japan with Deloitte. And so we came through it with flying colors, but that was 2-3 years of preparation to get there. So the whole idea was don't screw it up. So I think the whole idea is once the deal was done, it was like, thank F for that. That's just, oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, it's more of a relief than anything else.
And tell me, did you obviously Hayes were using Deloitte, but were you using some kind of intermediary agent, some kind of consultant, an M&A guy, or did you do it yourself?
So no, we had we had a investment banker come in from our side. We used them probably more so in London than in Japan. You generally in London, they would bring the guys into to negotiations. Over with us, it was pretty much my negotiation was, what do we get for the Japan business? What do we, because we already had negotiations with Randstad. Randstad had given us a term sheet. We already knew what what the bottom line was, and I already had that. I'm not going to go below that. So so my negotiations were quite simple. I had the term sheet. I could go, and Paul could use that in discussions with Hayes as well. When we're having these discussions, say, well, they can walk anytime because they've got someone else to buy it. So we leveraged that together quite well. It was a long process though. They like I said, they did take 9-10 months after from conversation, getting a term sheet, then DD, to getting the deal done.
Yeah, but the deal was done to the tune of 75 million.
Yeah, there was a lot to share about. It was good, and I think the one thing I say to people is that it isn't a euphoric buzz. Yeah. It is that I remember walking down the street, I think the day after, and it was a side street near my office. It was empty, and it was like a surreal Magnolia moment of going, oh my God, looking up the sky and going, no, what bloody hell do I do now? But having all those options to say, right, okay, you do feel incredible.
And taking stock, to do that and sell a business, to start in recruitment and sell a business for the amount of money that you did, all within 12, maybe 13 years. That's quite incredible.
Yeah, I think there's an element of luck that's been played here. Let's look back on it, and I think I've had a lot of time to reflect. And I think that during that time it was incredible growth from 2003 to 2007, 2008 was it's certainly in our markets was amazing. And Japan was just going forward. It was fabulous. So I think we had a little bit of luck on our side. The fact that we pulled together the management team that we did, the fact that people were all driven, and we put a fabulous ESOP plan in place for the team. So a lot of my guys, got something out of it. I think we paid 17 of my team got something out of the upfront and the earnout. And then we negotiated with Hayes. I negotiated with Hayes on our side to get an additional lock-in for them. So they got an additional payment in 2010, end of 2010, 2011 to stay there in the business. So some of them got 3 payments. So in terms of that, we were fortunate that we had, I think a lot of luck, and I do say this, Pete, just to keep my feet on the ground more than anything, the luck plays a lot to do with what your first deal, right? And most people never do more than one. So I think it's worthwhile to recognize that, because, one big mistake I made when I came out was I thought I was a master of the universe. I thought whatever I touch will turn to gold. And I thought that I don't have to do much. I'm just clever. And business is just not like that, and the world's just not like that. You've got to start again, and you've got to get your head down and your tail up if you want to make it a success of the next business. It's not just going to happen.
So there you are, under 40, Bernie, and sitting on a lump of cash that I'm assuming never in your wildest dreams you'd be sitting on a lump of cash like that, or maybe you did. But either way, you were sitting on this lump of cash under the age of 40, and as you said, you had this realization that life now had choices for you. You tried your hand in the ski chalet business for a few years. I mean, we can touch on that briefly, because that's a bit of a diversion from recruitment, isn't it? How did that happen? Are you a skier, okay, first of all?
Well, I am, but not a good one. I do like the mountains. I thought I wanted to do something that straight away would give me an income, right? And I think that's what you want to do. But I wanted to do something different, and I thought I went up to Hackaba, bought a plot of land that was right on the edge of the slopes, and some other land. I thought I'll just build some chalets, called One Chalets it was called, and worked with there was an Aussie guy up there, Mick Baker, cracking guy. He's a builder. So together we designed and built, 2 really cool chalets up there. But the point of the matter was that it's the chalet business is a lot of hard work, and there's not a lot of upside to it. And Hackaba wasn't Niseko. It didn't have the flow through of the rich that were willing to pay the prices I wanted for those chalets.
I'm sorry, you must explain. Where's Hackaba?
Hackaba is about 3 hours north of Tokyo in the mountains,
Gotcha.
right? It's most Aussies would recognise that. A lot of Aussies go there. And Niseko is in Hokkaido, and Hokkaido is about 2.5 hours from Sapporo, but it has direct flights in from Hong Kong and whatnot, and it's deemed to be a richer part of the ski fields, if you know what I mean.
So this Midas touch that you thought you had with James Harvard, did that lend itself to the ski chalet business?
No, well, I just felt, the problem was that not only did I get into ski chalets, I also got into software, and I started to build, because I was building the software and starting to test and try it out from early as 2011, right?
Yeah.
So, and I just pouring money into that, where do you put your cash? I had limited amounts, even though I'd spent, a sum over $5-6 million on those chalets. And then I had extra cash I was just pouring into these businesses. So I just had to decide, where do I want to put my focus? And the chalets business I'd realized it was going to be a lot of hard work. I'm going to be stuck in the mountains of Japan. And really, I didn't feel that to make that thing work, I probably would have had to put in 2-3 times the amount I did to make it really a viable business venture. And so I decided, I got into the software side. So eventually I pulled out, and had another Aussie up there who's a rich financier from Hong Kong, and he basically just bought the properties off me which is great.
So fast forward to 2012, and that's when you launched Vincere, which has kept you busy since. How did you come up with the concept of Vincere?
Okay, we didn't, Pete, in the beginning. What I did was I focused on, in 2012, building an ATS for corporates. And 2013 segued into the ATS CRM for agencies. But at the same time, we also did a third product, which was recruitment analytics people analytics. So we had this business called Hiring Boss. We had a business called Staffing Boss, which is now Vincere, and a business called Employee Boss. So again, you've got this mindset, right? Of I've just come out of an earnout. I'm a superstar. Everything I touch is going to turn to gold, and it didn't. Right? You're talking about a product competing with with Taleo, right, on one side. Then you're building a product compete with Bullhorn on another side, and then you're trying to build an Alteryx type, Domo type product. It's just stupid. There's a lot you don't know when you come into it, and I look back now and say, right, how the hell were we trying to build those three? And so in 2015, we basically had a cash crunch. And our investors said, listen, can you just focus on one of these products, please? And so we were, okay. So what I did was I focused on the little redhead that was in the corner that wasn't getting any attention. That was Staffing Boss. And we had about 30 customers at the time. We had some long-suffering customers, one that's one of our biggest customers now, and our first customer who's still with us. And that thing, we repositioned that, renamed it, and turned it into Vincere. And that little redhead's turned into Nicole Kidman. And so, and that's where we are now.
Okay. So how would you say it is what's the difference between running a tech business and running a recruitment business?
Crikeys. I'd say a lot. I'd say that's a good question, actually, because I'd say recruitment's about, process, sales, and people management. right? It's about having, understanding you need to have a process in place. You need to have, everything. The storage to success needs to be in the processes that you build for that business. The people you put in the business are super, super, super important, of course. And then you need to be able to manage them. And you need to be able to, as you expand, you need to be able to build people managers and managers of people managers, etc. So it's a very generic process, in my opinion. It's not easy, don't get me wrong, but tech's a little different. Tech's about market need, it's about customers, and it's about runway. So 40% of businesses in tech fail because there's no need for their product in the market. And so you need to check, and that's why we chose Vincere out of the 3 products. If you look at a corporate ATS, it's a nice to have. It's full of tire kickers and guys without budgets that will tell you they're going to buy and never do. You look at the people analytics product we built. No one wants to pay for it, right? So that's why we chose the weakest of the 3 products to go forward with, because there's a market need for it. And I think when I look at customers as well, one reason why I say customers is because really, if the customers don't use your product, okay, then they won't stay with you. And in a SaaS business, the most important ingredient to success is keeping customers. It's not necessarily getting new customers. Don't get me wrong, that's important in the early days, because without them, you've got to get them in the first place, right? So, but keeping those customers and making them and turning them into a powerhouse, getting them to expand, that's where the secret to SaaS lies, in getting those guys to take new licenses on at the behest of the other competing products where they're taking those licenses from, because they're taking business from them. And I think the third one is runway, right? And runway means, it's like, how much money do I have till I get profitable? And in tech, the barrier to entry is so high because you need lots of money. And just having lots of money doesn't mean you're successful, but it certainly does give you what they call runway. So you're looking at your business plan and saying, how much money do I need till I get profitable? Like anything, but remember, you've got to invest heavily in tech. And this is not like it used to be. You're not building a product and going out to sell it. You've got to keep building it. So you've got to keep that expenditure going. And it's there forever, So even during COVID, right, we still had our dev team building. We still had to pay them. And pay them overtime when they did releases, etc. So that's the difference. Also, I think a recruitment business is you don't need much to set up. What I love about it, it's you can go in and set up your own business. You're up and running. You're off and you're going, and that's it.
Yeah,
it's not the same.
Yeah, that's the beautiful part about recruitment. Always has been.
Oh,
you need a phone, a brain, the internet, and you're off.
Correct, and you got things like LinkedIn, which I didn't have when I was recruiting, right? I'm not signing up to the extent it has today. You got wonderful products that are really competing with each other now. I would look at my competition and say, wow, they make me get out of bed every day and think about what I need to do to beat them. What I need to do to make sure that our guys using our product can beat the guys using their product.
Yeah,
and that's the kind of stuff that didn't exist before, right? That have these ultra competitive vendors that are giving you the product for cheaper and cheaper prices, really, for what you're getting. So, I think recruitment is, and I love the game. I miss it, actually, in a lot of ways, because, don't get me wrong, it's certainly not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but it certainly is, I keep calling it a hidden gem of a career, because, we have bad times. We have that with every business.
How are you, Bernie, different today as a business leader today to the business leader that you were when you're running James Harvard at its peak? I mean, so clearly, the passion is clearly still there, but how are you different?
That's a great question. I would say that I'm more open to learning the things that I don't know than to relying on things that I do. And I think more open to double checking that I might be wrong, Pete. So it's like, and so that's why I think live by the philosophy of fail fast, right? So and I'm far more open to listening and studying, right, than I was before. Before I just throw money at the problem. now I could still do that, but I realized it doesn't work.
Mm.
Now it's you don't necessarily want to be the smartest guy in the room in every conversation, but you want to know enough to be dangerous. And I think, I just go back to school. If I don't know something, I'll spend the weekend studying it. So at least I have a grip on that situation. So when I go into the conversation, that I hold some stead in the outcome.
Okay. So back to Vincere. In layman's terms, because this is a very competitive, populated industry that you are battling in. How is Vincere different to the bullhorns and the job adders of this world?
Well, just to just to deal with the first thing you said, was it's very populated. It is and it isn't. I think that the market's split now between two parts, right? And it comes down to one word. And this took me a long time to learn this, Pete. It's called or two words actually: single or multi-tenanted. What is the platform? Is it single tenanted? Is it multi-tenanted? And it's very important if you're going to have a long relationship with your vendor. Single tenanted means that you can customize it to whatever you want. Can I customize this? Yes. Can I move that field over here? Yes. Great. Sounds wonderful, right? When you're buying. But then, where's my upgrades? Oh, we can't have those. You've customized. That's your solution, right? That's it. Well, you didn't tell me that in the sales process. You didn't ask.
Yeah.
Whereas, and I've heard so many horror stories of this. I went through it myself with one of the products. Multi-tenant is simple. It's configuration versus customization. So yes, you configure, but there's going to be a lot of no's in the sales process. But the great thing is that, everyone's got this continuous integration, continuous delivery, CI/CD, they call it right now. And what that means is that you're constantly getting updates, constantly getting upgrades. So what my job is to speak to you as a customer, Pete, and say, right, Pete, where are the shortcomings of the product? And like I said to you before, we drive our roadmap by and so do our competitors, by the way, all driven by customers if they're clever, right? Not by prospects. So that's super important. So how do we differentiate ourselves against the names you just mentioned, the bullhorn, the job adders? Well, let me just say that they're formidable opponents. I mean, formidable. I say bullhorn from a product perspective, the fact they've been in the market for a long time. I'd say job adders marketing is just incredible. The marketing people over there, wow. And the Mercuries of the world, right? Those guys, they do quite well, but they're probably more UK focused. I would say that we are looking for an all-in-one solution. That's the differentiator for us. So what we're trying to do is say, well, listen, at the moment, I feel that the market's gone into two strands on that side. One is a debt stack and one is a tech stack. The debt stack is, yeah, we got a partner for that. Yeah, we got a partner for that. Yeah, we got a partner for that. And you're trying to work out in the sales cycle, how much is all this costing me?
Yeah.
And then you have to, so you go and meet with one vendor. So you meet with 5 vendors for your central system. Then you got 5 other systems. You need with 5 other vendors for each of those systems. So you got 25 different meetings and you got to make decisions on that. And then there's always the case of nothing flows back into the central core system of record. So what we're doing is providing all the basics, your pay and bill, your websites, your candidate portals, client portals, your communications and your analytics, all of that inside one product. And that's our sales point. It's crazy, I know, to try and sit out and do it, but that's what the market wants. It's what the market demands. And if no, and we're seeing it now in just how busy we are. And that people are saying, oh, right, okay, it's exactly what I want. So that's how we differentiate ourselves, really.
Okay, that makes sense. So you've successfully run a recruitment business, Bernie. Then you got into the ski chalet business. Now you're in the recruitment software business. What next? What next for you? Or what next for Vincere? I think Vincere is going to keep you busy for quite a few years, right?
Yeah, I think just take it one season at a time, Pete. And I think that's really the truth here, because now I'm starting to enjoy it after 6-7 years of pure pain.
Yeah.
It's actually getting to an enjoyable stage where I can actually have conversations with some long-suffering customers of mine and say to them, yeah, actually that's coming in about 2 months. Well, actually that's coming this weekend. Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. We can segue off this and have really meaningful conversations with them. So I can't answer a longer term picture here. There's no plans to sell this business anytime soon. I think if there was an exit, probably be through a private equity player that wants to take it to the next step.
Sure.
And I'd like to be a part of that.
Yeah.
That next step too. So that's really the plans.
Well, we're coming towards the end, Bernie. It has been fascinating, but in closing, going back to the concept of this podcast, it is all about, educating and inspiring and motivating people who might find themselves in your shoes. So I suppose if you were to put yourself in the shoes of somebody who was thinking about, their next chapter, or trying to go on to bigger and better things, or starting their own business, or pursuing success in some way, shape or form, what advice would you give to that person? What advice would you give a younger Bernie, maybe?
Okay. Number one, never give up. Never, ever, 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 ever give up. I think a lot of people would say that, probably my number one trait would be never to give up. Don't listen to anyone telling you what they think of you. You know better. You do. Pete, you've run your own business for many years. You get that. Don't give up and back yourself. Number two, don't feel sorry for yourself. Right? It's a lonely world out there, isn't it? And I imagine in COVID, it's even worse. Right? You're stuck at home. It's like, Jesus, what am I doing? Don't feel sorry for yourself. Don't ever self-pity yourself, because no one gives a shit. And once you understand that, you get over it. And I suppose, number three would be, I think I said it earlier, fail fast and learn from it. Yeah, if you don't be afraid to try something, but quickly learn if it's not working out. Don't be thinking, don't let because we are always positive. Don't let some positive momentum, positive feelings overcome bad momentum, right? So just get out of it and fail fast. The thing I say to my team here is that when we're at university, we used to pay a professor to get up and talk at us, right? Sometimes quite rudely, and then give us really bad results and really bad feedback. And we used to love it. And we come out in the work field or the business field, and we get paid, right? And we don't study. We stop studying. Yeah. And I think that's the one thing, when you fail, learn from it. Take the time to learn and study a bit. So Google is the best friend in the world. It's the best invention ever, in my opinion. Yeah. So that's what I'd say to people, back yourself, don't feel sorry for yourself, and fail and learn.
Yeah. And I think that second point about not feeling sorry for yourself, I think when COVID hit, there would have been thousands, if not millions, myself included, who briefly fell into that trap. You suddenly think, shit, the world's falling around my ears. Why is this happening to me? But as soon as you pull yourself out of it, good things start happening again.
I think that's great, Pete. I think that's the most important thing, for me, because you do. I mean, 2015, we're looking at, a cash crunch. And the thing you have to do is no one gives a shit. You have bills to pay. Don't feel that you're doing anyone a favor. It's just the way it is, and just deal with it. Get yourself out of the crunch. And can I just say one thing? I suppose recruitment, for those of you in recruitment, it's a bloody great career. Tech is not the answer. Don't think that you go into tech, oh yeah, I'm going to be a tech entrepreneur. That's BS, right? Trust me, it's just as hard, if not harder in a lot of ways, to come and do something you've not done before. Yeah. Recruitment is a known process. It's a known success. And you think that Qantas, they're sacking 10,000 people. All these companies are sacking people, right? What you got to remember is that when they come back, they need to rehire them all. Yeah. Yeah. And they ain't going to be able to do it. What are they going to turn to? It's going to be a feeding frenzy for us and, well, for recruiters first, and hopefully us. Yeah. Because we feed off you. You're the 800-pound gorilla. We're the flea on your back. Yeah. So
the good times will roll back. We're just gonna stay in the game. We're just gonna be here when it happens.
I absolutely, and I think those people that stick to it are the people that will be successful, because there'll be less of them. Because the weak will leave and the strong will remain. And I had a business, not a business partner, but a business associate that sold his recruiting business. His recruiting business in Japan. It was in 2011. So he went through the 2008 drop. He had to go and borrow money to keep it going, and he came out of it and sold it to a Japanese company. And the guy is now, rolling in cash, and he's, living in, mansions in Singapore. And Nick, well done, mate. He's one of those guys that pushed himself through a difficult situation, a management buyout, pushed himself through a recession when he was wondering whether he should stay with it, and he came out the other side and just wow. So
don't throw in the towel.
Yeah.
Bernie, thanks so much, mate. Thank you so much for talking to us
and
the life lessons and the business lessons and the pearls of wisdom that you dropped in there.
Anyway, it's been fun so far, but no, I really appreciate you having me on, mate. I love your podcasts; they're amazing.
Thank you very much.
I love what you're doing for the business, especially right now.
Thank you, mate.
Okay, all right.
Good luck, Bernie. All the best.
Thanks, mate. Okay, cheers. Take care.